and he's given us some information in reference to his background and some of the things that have been important in his life. But more specifically, he's talking about the many death cases that he has had to handle. And so what we'd like to do, Mr. Rowan, is to buy in to that kind of information, yes, and perhaps to enlighten us in terms of individuals. We all know about people who are charged with the death penalty and et cetera, but we don't know exactly what happened. As a matter of fact, those cases that we've had an opportunity to talk about, some of these individuals have said that we're concerned about the individual until the prison gate, and after the prison gate nobody pays any attention. And what about death row inmates? Now, once an individual is charged with a capital crime, how do you meet that, and give us a sort of an experience, a sort of a case study in reference to that during this next 8 minutes?
Well, basically what I do, what I do is I represent the families, the families of somebody that had been killed. Like, let's take Roy Glenn Jr., for instance, the African American that was shot by the police officer named Paul Carrier. Those types of cases they're very, very difficult cases, is what they are. It's not only, those cases are generally sometimes fought in the media, kind of like the Trayvon Martin type of case. We got George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. And that in itself, has a completely different element into it, and you've got to be very cautious and very careful about what you say in the media, because that information can go to a jury member, and then a jury member can get some kind of preconceived notion as to what they think may or may not have happened. And even when you pick a jury, even when you go to a jury and pick a jury, although you're asking them to be honest and truthful, and we assume that most of them are, sometimes they may have seen news stories, and for whatever reason, themselves believe that it won't have any impact or effect on them to be sitting on the jury, and they'll go ahead and sit on the jury, and that creates a problem within itself. Now, death row cases, obviously they have a right, if you're on death row and you're waiting to be executed, you have a right to an appeal of your case. In that, I can tell you that in cases, in those types of cases, it has a profound effect on the family, because it's not only that individual. Let's just say that, and there have been many cases where people have been, accused and convicted for murder when they absolutely didn't do it. And and that is one of the toughest things that I couldn't even imagine it, but having to convince your family and all of your loved ones that you didn't do it after somebody said that you did. You see, it really puts them in a what I would call a quandrum, something that they have to not only fight their family to get them to believe, but then they also have to fight within an appeals system and help the appeals lawyer. Sometimes it's the inmate himself that uncovers the proof that in some cases will set him free. And so in those cases, they're just terrible cases. Unfortunately, nobody wins.
Very good, and of course you find that there are not many people rushing out in a real sense to deal with these kinds of cases.
No, people don't want to rush out. People do not want to rush out and take these types of cases. And before, I was somewhat in what I would consider a sheltered environment, working with Barry Cohen. He's a very famous lawyer. Out of the million lawyers, he's considered one of the top 5. And having that experience put me in a sheltered position. Was
he also a death lawyer?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And he's if you look him up, there's just tons of stories about him. He's actually done some of the DNA cases. He did where an African American was convicted of rape. He actually defended him on his appeal for free, and he was released from prison. Now he's got to find the proof. He's just not out there, trying to get somebody off the hook. I mean, he chooses certain cases, and then he diligently goes after them, and then he assists those people in getting out of jail. But when I came here to Tennessee and I started doing this myself, with that, sometimes.
Well, what prompted you to wish to go into that kind of law?
Working with him.
Working with him.
Working with him, without a doubt.
You're encouraged by what?
Look, I told people, and I still lean on him today, I told people that I should have paid that man for the education I got working for him. When he hired me, instead of him paying me, I should have been paying him, because his insight and intuition and his knowledge is just absolutely incredible about the way that he approaches a particular case. And I gained every bit of that. gained every bit of it. I used to have people say, well, what do you do for Mr. Cohen? I said, hell, I'm his briefcase carrier.
His right-hand man.
He says, get up and go. I grab the briefcase and I go with it.
Very good.
You know?
I can understand the gophers, but while you're doing that, you're also not only going, but you're also bringing in information
you are
that
learning,
perhaps the learning
you're like a
experience.
sponge, and you just absorb and absorb and absorb and absorb. I had an old friend of mine used to tell me that sometimes sometimes what you don't know is your worst enemy. And I can tell you that there was so much that I didn't know and still so much that I don't know and will continue to learn as I grow. But working with him, there were things in the ways that he attacked certain types of cases that had you not seen it and witnessed it and viewed it, you wouldn't even know it was there.
And of course, I think that we've got about 2 minutes
Yes,
in this
sir.
segment, but what we'd like to do to make preparations for that before we get into it
Yes, sir.
is to have this last 10 minutes. We've got 10 minutes on that last one to
Yes, sir.
look at you as a candidate. I think that
Yes,
you
sir.
are interested in becoming a candidate. You have
General Sessions Judge candidate.
And so we want to talk about why you feel that you prepared for that and et cetera during this last 10 minutes.
Yes,
but I
sir.
think that's essentially the kind of information that we wanted to deal with. First, we wanted to at least identify your expertise. That is
Yes,
the
sir.
area in which you wanted to talk about. And I think I'm encouraged by the information that you're giving us, because it does, I would imagine, take a very, very special kind of person to wish to undergo the kind of agony, in a real sense, once you tie yourself up to a candidate, to a
Yep.
person who has been involved with that, and it almost becomes your problem in a real sense, because you have to think about it and
Yes,
have
sir.
to deal with it and understand the possibilities that you might not be successful, you see. And so I think that that's very, very important. And so in this last 10 minutes, we want to deal with that.
Yes,
But
sir.
now, you are interested in the judgeship. Let's start off by making some statements. We've got about a minute.
Okay.
And why you think that why you're interested in such a situation.
Well, you know, I was, like I said, I was born and raised here in Nashville, and I absolutely love Nashville. And Nashville is a very safe city. It's a very safe city, in my opinion, today. And Nashville's going through a lot of changes with the convention center that's going to be bringing in between 20 and 50,000 people to view a month, to view these exhibits that are going to be exhibited at the convention center. And when you bring in that type of population, you're going to get a lot more. Nashville's going to explode. It's going to explode through business. And unfortunately, it'll explode through certain types of crimes. And, you know, and because I love Nashville, I felt that I could help contribute to Nashville, give back to Nashville by running for General Sessions Judge. And hopefully, if I get elected, then I can help keep it a safer city.
Very good. Of course, we're going to take our second commercial break, and after we come back, we're going to give you an opportunity to talk about that situation. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.